Andrew, after reading a beautiful piece of yours from your newsletter, I was really struck by the moment where your 4-month-old grandson was resting on your knees essentially, or in your lap. And I was just really curious from your perspective, what do you sense was forming between you in that moment?
Very difficult to put into words. And I think that's the beauty of it. It was really difficult to put into words. Um, and it's something, a kind of bonding, uh, it sounds a bit grandiose, a bonding of consciousness because of his uh, dependency on me to remain physically in that position. But also, I was basically minding him for his mother because 4 months old, it's all about he's either eating, sleeping, or wanting to eat and wanting to sleep and then whinging about it. And the thing of 4 months old, not quite sure what's going on, but the eating and sleeping and beginning to notice things as well, which was fascinating. And so that's that sense of an emerging consciousness there with me, um, a a connection that's of being family. So a new extension of that, of the generations. So this is of which I'm obviously he's the beginning generation, and I'm departing generation. And that sense of being together. He was very still, and which was and it felt remarkable because that stillness of just being, and he was sat there, um, and I couldn't see what he was looking at. He was because he's beginning to, as I say, notice things, but it just a feeling of peace and a feeling of harmony, which interestingly, of course, is when he's lying on his back, he's not harmonious. He's moving around. He's whinging. He's smiling. There's a whole loads of stuff going on. But this was something different.
You know, you have in all the conversations we've had, there's generally some sense of a reverence for other generations, whether that's a baby in this case or younger children. There's also a nodding to the responsibility that an older generation may have while still maintaining that reverence. You know, the child, as you described, was like a Buddha. It was very still. There's a bonding of consciousness. It seems like a two-way thing, not just a one-way passing down of something. Could you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that the thing with all relationships is that they only exist if you are on the same level. That actually, if you separate yourself either by age or by gender or by intellectual ability or anything that you status, anything that separate you have this feeling about yourself when you're meeting, particularly when you're meeting someone younger than yourself. You can have a sense the sense of being superior or inferior, whatever, is such that there is no relationship. So that it's only when you I think when you completely drop however you feel about yourself or any sort of self-image, and then you're beginning, then you you give an opening for connection. So that's you're saying, you're saying you're on the level, the level is the same as the person you're meeting. And then of course the onus goes on to the person you're meeting to to recognize that. And I think with younger people, um, particularly with children, is the very quick um, recognition of that, of the dropping of the image, of dropping of that, and to enjoy the opening of the ability to relate to someone else. It is it's fascinating to observe, and I think that changes come around, so puberty and when and teenagers, when young people become more self-conscious and more um, self-aware, and often uh, more cautious um, in their approach to other people. So, so that's when the relationships become more complex, and it's quite it, it's quite a it's a fascination of mine to, because of my experience in teaching, um, how these relationships come and go, and come and go with individuals. There are times when you think we're really, we're really getting on well together, we understand each other, and then other times you think, well, it's totally different. So it's a fascination of being human, of course.
And that almost sounds like a drift, and I'm not suggesting that there's equal time spent in either of these positions or it's the only position at any given time, but a kind of a drifting in and out of that understanding, or it feels like there's a flowing back into that understanding, perhaps throughout these shifts.
I think so, and also I think what you brought up is also the intention behind relationship. What that's always so. If there is a particular intention, like I was a house parent, and then sometimes you meet a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old with whom you'd have to have a conversation that requires um, asking them why they were behaving like they were. So the initial contact is one that is a different kind of relationship. However, you have to connect. Otherwise, it's just me telling you what you should be doing, and so which again is not relationship. There's no real connection there. It's just a matter of status or formality, and also conformity. You're asking them to conform to. So it's a limited um, relationship there.
Can you give me more of a sense of that? I read something by you recently where you touch on the kind of notion that it's not just the older generations handing down codes to abide by. There seems to be something so attuned to or acknowledging of the individual human experience, and even just an acknowledgement that the different generations aren't growing up or experiencing the same worlds based on where their place in life is. Like, so just from your perspective, what is that significance you just mentioned there of, not just sitting down with the teenager and giving them a list of shoulds? Um, how would you kind of describe the nuance of that approach, or the the awareness of that kind of, I don't know, the recognition of the individual experience, I guess.
I think that it starts with the necessity of us older people to have something of which I don't know. Maybe I'm being harsh here, but I think we lack humility. I think as we get older, are we are encouraged. We feel we should be the people who know, and we get our knowledge gets crystallized into this is how life is. In fact, I mean, given the world situation now, I would say that the crystallization is incredibly strong in terms of, and the media put it forward in certain ways, so that there you have presented to younger people, this is the way of being, um, and this is life. This is what life is. Um, so it's going back to what you said is about younger people, each generation being presented with a world that's different. The world is always changing, um, despite how whatever we think we have, whatever we want it to be. And so that if I'm meeting, say, a 14-year-old, 10, 11-year-old, whatever, that understanding that the way they see the world is not going to be the way I'm seeing it. And the way they have to understand, and I have to understand, the way that they're seeing the world. That's one of the, that's where we meet, I think. And I think that is not something that happens very much with younger people. Is they talk to themselves, they create, within their peer groups and so on, they're creating a world, and they're creating a world that is deliberately different, but there's not a reflective quality brought about by um, conversations with people beyond their peer group.